All right, guys. So we just got done with week 9 games yesterday. So this morning I wanted to give you my top 25. This is how I think the committee is going to release the teams come Tuesday night. So let's just jump right in. At 25, I've got University of Central Florida, the UCF Knights. At 24, Texas, who was off yesterday. 23, Oregon State, the Beavers. 22 is NC State, the Wolfpack. 21 is going to be Tulane. They've only got one loss on the season. Looking pretty good. 20, Syracuse, who took a tough loss at the Dome yesterday. 19, Wake Forest. 18 is going to be UNC, the Tar Heels. 17, LSU, which also was on a bye week yesterday. 16, Oklahoma State, who was utterly embarrassed. They were blanked in what I think was the largest blowout loss by an over-ranked team in the AP poll era. Mike Gundy's team just was ran off the field yesterday. They did not show up. Terrible game for the Pokes. 15, the ones who did it to Oklahoma State, is Kansas State. 14, Penn State. They were in that game with Ohio State at home for much of that. I think the last 8 minutes they messed up. I think the defense just got a little tired, and then the offense made a few mistakes. So they were very much in that game. I don't penalize them a lot in my ranking for that. 13, Illinois. Brett Bielema has that team playing really, really well. I think they're at the top of their division. 12 is going to be Ole Miss, who put away a pesky little Texas A&M team that I don't think is very good. But Ole Miss did what they needed to do to close them out in College Station. 11 is going to be UCLA. 10 is USC. 9 is Utah, and that is just Utah has the head-to-head over USC for sure. 8, I've got Clemson, who was on a bye, but I still am not a big believer in Clemson. Will they win the ACC? Probably. Will they go in undefeated? Probably. Will they get a top 4 spot for winning the ACC and being undefeated? Usually. That's the way it's usually gone. I don't think they're one of the top 4 teams in America. They haven't been all season. Number 7 is Oregon. Outside of that loss to Georgia early in the year, Bo Nix has actually put together a pretty good little season for them. They'll definitely be in the Pac-12 championship, barring some big collapse here down the stretch. Number 6 is TCU, the Horned Frogs, looking great at a noon kickoff yesterday. 5, I've got Bama, who was on a bye yesterday. 4, Michigan. 3, Ohio State. I think they finally went into a hostile crowd. They went up against a top half defense, and they were shown that, yeah, they can score quick in the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game. But for much of that game, they did not look as dominant as they have all season. So I think that alludes to them being really good in the horseshoe, but later on down the stretch, when they get into a playoffs kind of scenario or anything like that, they're going to have more problems, and they're not really battle tested yesterday. Yesterday was their first battle test, and they did come out on top, so keep them up there, but I don't think they looked like the number 1 team in the country yesterday. Georgia at number 2 is the annual cocktail party was yesterday. Jumped out to a big lead over Florida and then let them creep back in the third quarter for whatever reason. The defense just maybe got a little overconfident coming out of the locker room, but then settled back down. Brock Bowers had a miraculous catch, tip drill for a 73-yard touchdown, so I still tend to think that the Heisman is just a QB competition, because if the Heisman was really the best player in America, Brock Bowers would be getting some kind of love, and he's not. So UGA at 2, just for letting Florida kind of sneak in there around the third quarter. And then at number 1, I've got Tennessee. It was kind of a trap game. That was the trending thing all week for all the sports pundits was, oh, Kentucky's a trap game. They're looking forward to Georgia. They were absolutely not looking forward to Georgia. They decimated Kentucky from one end of that field to the other. Hendon Hooker continues to grow in that offense. And many of us this morning are going, is there a defense that can stop them? Alabama didn't, and outside of going to the national championship game, next week is going to be the best defense Tennessee will see in Georgia. Now they are going into Athens, so number 1 and number 2 will play, at least in my ranking, next week in Athens. It's going to be ruckus. It's going to be crazy. Those tickets are super expensive, and clearly I am going to be at that game screaming my head off. But as it stands right now, I got to give the edge to Tennessee. Hopefully Georgia will prove me wrong. But if it were to be played today, I would lay money on Tennessee. So maybe Vegas has got an inside that I don't know, because Georgia opened up as a 12.5 point favorite. But right now, Tennessee's offense looks great. Their defense shut down Will Levis, who I think was a little overconfident in himself and got a little too much love. I did not believe in him all that much. But yeah, so your top 4 for this week is going to be Tennessee at 1, Georgia at 2, Ohio State at 3, and Michigan at 4. So that's if it ended. Now, of course, Tennessee, Georgia plays next week, and then at the end of the year, Ohio State and Michigan will play. So we'll see how that plays out. This has been a really fun season, and we'll see what happens next week, guys. So, as always, go Dogs. We'll see you next week.